Welcome to class 2 of course 6. In this class, we are going to go into our deep inner core recap, as well as add on our multifidus, which is our lower back core. We have to get our deep inner core active so that we can get into our lower back core. Multifidus is also a part of our deep inner core. So we're going to get all of these active before we go into our outer core. So let's start lying on your back with a pillow underneath your head. And we're going to start with the add-on that we did in the previous class. So just placing your hand onto the rib cage at the top of your stomach and breathing in to the diaphragm and breathing out. So remember, it's like a balloon. So everything, as you inhale, all the air comes in, pushes my hand up, and exhale, it comes down and brings the rib cage together. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. It's nice to do these throughout the day as well. Practice them whilst we're doing the course, and then it will become an everyday natural habit. Breathing through the diaphragm. 3 more. Taking your time, inhaling as much as you can and exhaling everything out. Last one. As you exhale, activate into the pelvic floor, bringing your 2 sit bones together, pulling them together, and then squeezing them up. Inhale, keeping the contraction, and exhale. If you let go of that contraction when you inhale, then relax, and then as you exhale, contract again. Inhale and exhale. You just have to train it. Inhale and exhale. Keep going. Don't forget about the diaphragm. Pushing the hand up. Pulling the 2 sit bones together. And trying to keep the contraction as you inhale and as you exhale. Three more deep breaths, keeping the pelvic floor active and using the diaphragm, pushing up into the hand and exhaling, pulling the ribs together. 2 more. And exhale. Last one. And exhale. As you exhale, keep the pelvic floor active. Take the hands to the pelvis deep on the inside, and then push the muscles up into your fingers, keeping the pelvic floor active as you've exhaled. Inhale, keeping active in your TA and your pelvic floor as you exhale as well. So pushing the stomach up. Now you don't have your hand there to feel your diaphragm, so you have to try and imagine pushing your stomach up as you inhale. And then exhale, pulling the ribs back together again, but keeping your pelvic floor and TA active. Five more. Four more. 3, 2, and 1. As you exhale, take the hands to your mid-thigh, keeping your pelvic floor active, your TA active, and your ribs engaged. Now push your hands and your knees, or your thighs into your hands. Keep everything active. Inhale and exhale. It gets harder to breathe, but it's okay. Push the stomach up, keeping the pelvic floor active, TA active. Relax the shoulders back, but make sure your thighs are pushing up into your hands. We're activating into our hip flexors, our psoas, the side or the pillars of our core. The diaphragm is the roof. The pelvic floor is the floor. The TA is the surrounding. And the psoas is the pillar. Keep going. Keep active through the psoas, pelvic floor, and TA. 3 more deep breaths. 2 more. Last one. And relax everything. That was our recap of our deep inner core. Now I want you to turn over onto your stomach. And you're going to place the pillow to the side. And lie down. Now, in this position, it's going to be a lot harder to activate through our deep inner core. So you really have to concentrate and get a neutral spine and not squeeze through the glutes. Everyone will start squeezing through the glutes, but you really have to keep that sit bone activation. So pulling the sit bones together and then pulling back up. Now we have the proprioception, or the brain to muscle connection, with the mat and our rib cage. This will help with our diaphragmatic breathing. Lying with your head down on the ground, I want you to start breathing just 5 times, pushing your stomach into the floor and then out, pulling the ribs back into their position, and in and out. Pushing the stomach out, in and out, in and out. 2 more, in and out. Last one, in and exhale everything out, pulling the ribs in and together. And then activate into your pelvic floor by pulling the sit bones together, but not squeezing through the glutes. So the legs are just relaxed, but your pelvic floor is engaged now. Inhale, keeping the pelvic floor active, and exhale. Inhale, and exhale. If you lose contraction, it's okay. Just try and activate again on the exhale. 2 more breaths. Inhale and exhale. It's really difficult to get. Don't get despondent. Last one, inhale, pushing the floor away from you with your stomach, and exhale, activating into the pelvic floor a little bit more. Keeping this activation, and then place your forehead on the mat. Take your hands to your pelvic bone. And then again, we're going to activate. So elbows on the floor, shoulders can be round. And we're going to breathe in, activating through the pelvic floor and through the TA. And exhale. Inhale and exhale. 3 more. Inhale, exhale. 2 more. Exhale. Last one. Inhale and exhale. Now, trying to activate through the psoas muscle by pulling the legs up into the socket. So you're just going to round your lower back slightly, and that's going to pull the hip back into the socket. So you're not going to be in too much of a tuck. You're not squeezing and tucking in with your glutes. You are rather just keeping a neutral spine and pulling the tops of your thighs up into your core or even into the hips. So now activating again, pelvic floor, TA active, psoas active, and now we breathe for 5 times. Inhale, pushing your stomach into the floor, and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Try not to squeeze the glutes. Inhale and exhale. 2 more. Inhale and exhale. Last one. Inhale and exhale. Relax through the core. Place the hands onto the mat and come up into a cobra. Now we will be activating into our multifidus. So we have to keep our psoas active, our deep inner core, which is our TA, transversus abdominis, our pelvic floor and our diaphragm, as well as the multifidus. So again, we can place our hands underneath our head so that we can breathe nicely, relaxing the shoulders completely. And then we're just going to activate into the pelvic floor, TA active. Now your hands aren't there to feel it. You should try and keep that brain to muscle connection without having to hold the muscle. And then just tucking in the tailbone without squeezing the glutes to activate into the psoas. Keep breathing and then lift your head off of the floor, and your back, your lower back will start to activate. Slowly bring the head back down and relax everything. Pelvic floor becomes active again, TA active, just slightly tucking in the tailbone, breathing through the diaphragm, lifting the head off of the floor, and then bringing it back down. These movements may look so simple, but if you're doing them correctly, it is very difficult. And see if you can lift the head up a little bit more, but your head is in line with your spine. You're not moving your chin up. You're keeping everything in line and bringing it back down. And this is going to help with the multifidus, because the multifidus comes from the neck, the top or the base of the skull, all the way down to your sacrum. And then bring it down. 5 more. Activate, lifting the head and bringing it down. 4 more. Down. 3. Keep breathing. Down. 2. Down. And 1. Down. Taking the hands now underneath the shoulders, we're going to activate again into everything. Pelvic floor active, TA active, slight tuck in the tailbone to get the psoas active so that the thighs are pushing up into the mat. Keep breathing. Inhale, lift the head into a slight cobra and then bring it back down. And 2, keeping the tailbone slightly tucked without squeezing the glutes. Keep your pelvic floor active and move up and down. Breathing, pushing your stomach into the floor. 5 more. Keep the psoas active. Push the thighs into the mat. 4 more, 3, 2, and 1. Place the hands in front of you now. And you're going to do the same movement again, but from this position. And we're going to lift up, just using a little bit of help from the hands, but making sure all the movement comes from the back. So we are again activating through the core. TA is active, pelvic floor active without squeezing the glutes. Push the thighs into the ground to activate into the psoas. And then lift the body up and down. 1. Keep breathing through the diaphragm even though we're coming into this extended position. 3, 4. You might feel it in the arms if your arms are weak, but you want to feel it in your back. 4 more. 3, 2, and 1. Bring the hands down by your side. Last one to activate into the psoas on our stomachs. So activate again, pelvic floor, TA, psoas is pushing down into, your thighs are pushing down into the mat. And then you're going to slowly lift the head, but keeping it in line with the spine, and then bringing it all the way back down. Keeping active in the psoas, no squeezing too much into the glutes. You want to keep it through to the lower back. 2. Not moving the head forward, keeping it in line with the spine. 3. Raising the arms off of the floor to get everything into the back. 4. 5, make sure pelvic floor is active, make sure you're breathing. 5 more. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Come all the way back down. Place the hands underneath the shoulders. Tuck the back toes and come into your all fours. In this position, we're going to activate through our multifidus, but keeping our diaphragm active, pelvic floor, TA, and psoas. So, in this position, pelvic floor active, sit bones together, TA active, just by pushing a little bit harder the belly button to spine, and then push the knees up towards the hands to get active into your psoas. So you're just pushing the knees up towards the hands without actually moving them, just creating resistance with your mat. Then I want you to tilt the tailbone up towards the sky and then bring it back to neutral. Keeping the pelvic floor active as you do this, so it's very difficult. 2, 3, 4, last one, 5. Coming back to neutral, pelvic floor is still active, TA active, knees are pushing down into the ground. And then I want you to push into one knee, lift the opposite knee, keeping the equal weight bearing through the hands. And then drop the knee, lift the opposite. This is going to help strengthen either side of your multifidus. So it's along the spine, all the way from the neck, through the thoracic spine, and into the lower back. Just keeping your pelvis secure, making sure that your pelvic floor is active as you move the knees from side to side, and see how this movement, which once was so easy, can be so difficult when you have to activate the deep inner core. But it is so essential to have the deep inner core active so that you aren't compensating and moving the hips from side to side. So just keep going. Don't move the hips. Make sure the core is active, the knees just lifting by pulling the knee up into the hip socket. And then relax. Open the knees out nice and wide. Relax everything and have a deep breath here. And then slowly come up. So that is our deep inner core with our lower back core, which is the multifidus, and that is our deep core. So that is our deep inner core activation, including our multifidus, which is the lower back core. These are the deepest muscles of our core, and in the next classes we'll be going into our outer core. So we will have to activate our deep inner core, so practice these, and then you can use them whilst we do our outer core. And it makes your core work or your core a stronger base to work with so that we can stretch through our bodies. So now we're going to come into our second part of the class, our full body mobility. This is the second part of class 2, and we're coming into our full body mobility, starting on the hands and knees, activating through the deep inner core, pulling the knees up towards the hands to keep the core active. Activate the pelvic floor, TA, and breathe at the same time. Tuck the back toes, and then just lift the knees off of the floor. Hold it here. Keep the pelvic floor active. Make sure your spine is in a neutral position. It's not rounded or tilted. It has to be in our neutral position. And then push into downward facing dog. Bring the knees back down, hovering off of the floor, activating into our deep inner core. And then pushing back into a downward facing dog. 3 more. Knees to hover, neutral spine, pelvic floor active, deep inner core active. Push to downward dog. 2 more. Knees to hover, core active, pelvic floor active. Push to downward dog. Last one. Knees to hover, activate through the deep inner core, and push to downward facing dog. Just moving the hips from side to side, and then take your left hand to the outer part of your knee and twist your body open. If it's difficult for you, you can bend your knees and do the same movement, twisting the body from side to side. It might be hard on the arms, but try, keep your core active as you do this. To the left, last one, to the right. And then take that right leg up into the sky. Keep your pelvic floor active as you bring the knee all the way into the chest and place the foot in between the hands. Take the back knee down towards the ground. You can have the pillow under the knee if you need to. And then just keep dropping your hips quite nice and deep here. Keep the TA active if your pelvic floor is not able to activate in this position. And then try and bring your heel to the bum. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Relax a bit deeper. Get your band and place it around your foot if you need it. So you place it around the foot to bring the band onto the shoulder, and then keep trying to drop your hips that little bit lower. And then slowly relax the band from your foot. Drop the hips even lower this time. Even move the back knee further back. If you have the pillow underneath the knee, that's great. Drop and then open up the chest here, squeezing your shoulder blades together, keeping the core active, and you'll feel it come into your hip flexors here, the top of your hips. And then come back and take your left leg forward. Just first of all moving in and out, trying to open up, keeping the TA active. Your hips are on the same level so that they're not moving from side to side. And then drop down nice and deep. TA active, bend the knee. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Place the foot down and drop that little bit deeper. Opening up through these hip flexors, but keeping your core active. And then taking the band around your foot. And placing the band onto the shoulder. Trying to drop the hips down low in this position as well. Trying to get a bit deeper, just moving in and out. If you feel uncomfortable, push out of it and then go back into that discomfort. Slowly let go of the band, place it down beside you, and then drop even deeper now, and see the difference just from opening up into the quad, how the hip flexors can open up. And make sure your core is engaged, TA is active, then you'll feel it deeper into your hip flexor here. Slowly come out of it. Bring the knees together, place the hands underneath the shoulders, and then lift up the knees into this hover position. Keeping the core active, pelvic floor active, push to downward dog 1. Coming down, knees to hover, neutral spine, push to downward dog. Coming back, knees to hover, push, downward dog. 2 more, knees to hover, pelvic floor active, TA active, push to downward dog. Last one, core active, push to downward dog. Take the left leg up into the sky, bring the knee all the way into the chest, place the foot in between the hands, right knee comes down to the floor, and then push that foot out slightly. And this time we're going to come a little bit more into our adductors. So you can move your hands into the center of the knee and the foot, and you're dropping the pelvis down here, moving your bum backwards and then forwards, keeping the knee facing forwards to the front of the room as you move the hips. And this will open up into the adductors at the front of the leg and the adductors at the back of the leg. So we're moving through all these hip flexors that we use that we don't know. Keep moving here. And then bring the hands back to center. Drop the hip nice and low, like you want to touch it to the floor. You can keep this foot, left foot on the ground, and try and get your hand to touch the back foot. If not, grab the band and place it around the foot so that you can hold on to it. Keep dropping the hips down nice and low here. Keep moving in and out of it. It's so important to keep moving, going into that discomfort and then pushing back out of it to breathe. Keeping the core active as we do this. And then slowly let go of the leg, and place the hand down onto the ground, place the foot down, come back into that position where we were before, hands in the center between the knees and the foot, and we're moving back and forth here, just opening up into the adductors here. 3 more, 2 and 1. Bring the hands back to center, take the foot back, and then move back into your downward facing dog. Take the right leg up into the sky, bring the knee all the way into the chest, place the foot down, back knee comes down to the ground. Same thing, placing the right foot on the outside of the mat, pushing the knee out towards the side, placing your hands in the center between your heel and your knee, and you're pushing the bum backwards and forwards, keeping the knee in line with the wall. So all the movement comes from the hips, pushing the hips back and then forward, back and then forward, and you'll feel the tightness in the hip flexor, the adductors at the front and the front adductors at the back leg. Keep moving here, opening up, keep your core active, deep inner core active. When we have our deep inner core active, all these small movements become a lot more difficult because we are stretching through the right areas instead of compensating through our core and our lower backs. 3 more, 2 and 1. Bring the hands back to the center. Drop that left hip down as low as you can and see if you can take a hold of the back foot. If you can't, grab the band or a towel and just place it around the foot and then try and drop the hip down. Keep moving in and out of that discomfort. Move from side to side, up and down, wherever you feel you need it to be released. And you can take your time. If you felt like you were tighter on the right, then keep doing a little bit more on the right. Or if you felt you were tighter on the left, go back to the left and do the left. Now slowly relax the foot down, bring the hand back, all with control. And then move the hands back to the center again, and you're dropping the bum back and forward. Keeping the deep inner core active, trying to activate the pelvic floor, but this position is a lot more difficult because it's the outer range of the pelvic floor. So it's harder to activate. 5 more. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring the hands back to center, take the leg back, and then come into your hover position. Knees off of the ground about 2 or 3 inches. Keep the core active in a neutral spine. Push to downward facing dog. 1. Come back to hover. Push to downward dog, heels to the ground. 2. Hover. Push. 3. Hover. Push. 4. Hover. Core active, pelvic floor active, deep TA active. Last one. 5. Push to downward facing dog. And then slowly come all the way into a plank position. Bring the knees down onto the ground and bring your whole body to the floor. Take your right arm underneath the left and the left over the right. And you're just going to move from side to side here. And then slowly come out of it, taking the left arm under, right arm over, and moving from side to side. Trying to round into the upper back a little bit, so rounding the mid back so that you can stretch through the shoulder blades here. And then slowly coming back out of it, taking the right hand to the left corner of the mat and then dropping the shoulder down towards the ground. You're going to try and lean your weight all the way over onto the left side and then drop it back down. So you're just going 5 times here. 2, 3, you'll feel it more on the outer part of the deltoid and into your scapulas here. 4 and 5. Take the left arm, hand up towards the sky and right hand over, dropping. Trying to get the shoulder to touch as you move here. 3 more. 2 and 1. Bring it back to center, hands underneath the shoulders, lift into an upward facing dog and slowly come back down. Push to upward dog and back down. 3 more, push and down. 2 more, down. And last one, pushing up, holding it here, bringing it all the way back down, and see if you can take your hands behind your back. Squeezing the chest open, and then drop the head down, and lift. 1. Keep your deep inner core active. This is a nice tester for our multifidus muscle. Dropping the head down, lifting up through the back, keeping the pelvic floor active, the TA active. 5 more. Breathe, pushing the diaphragm into the ground and exhaling, bringing the ribs back together again. 3 more. 2 and 1. Slowly bring it back down. Take the right hand out to the side. Bring the left leg all the way over. See if you can get your foot to touch the hand, and then slowly come back to center and then reach to the other side. Come back again and then turn over onto your back, having the pillow underneath your head for support. Take the arms out into a T position, and you're going to take the leg all the way over, trying to get the knee to touch the floor and bring it back. 1, 2, squeeze your shoulder blades together. 3, 4, last one, 5, and switch sides, bringing the left knee in, twisting the body over, keeping the elbow down on the ground. 1, 2, dropping the knee as far as you can with keeping the elbow down. 4, last one. Reach all the way over. And 5. Hug the knees into the chest. And then just take both knees over to the one side, keeping the elbow bent, the right elbow bent, keeping the shoulder down on the ground, stretching through our mid-back and lower back. And then twist to the last one, keeping the elbow bent, shoulder down on the ground, moving the knees over and relaxing here. And then slowly come back into a seated position. Well done for doing class 2, the core from the base and our full body mobility. See you at the next class.